At the 4.657-kilometer Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, it was a very hot Friday, not only because of the atmospheric temperatures as expected, but also because of the anticipation to see if the 2024 Formula One Championship will really offer the much-desired close battle between the different top teams. Ferrari brought a substantial aerodynamic update package here, while Red Bull had a less significant package which is not focused on pure performance. McLaren is extracting the potential of the updated car from Miami, while Mercedes is engaged in a weight reduction program that can continue its recent progress. The first day of free practice for the Spanish Grand Prix provided results that are not yet definitive, but certainly interesting. At the end of the day, both Ferrari drivers gave positive feedback, without getting too carried away. The second session started with both SF-24s running the same configuration, with the entire upgrade package fitted. They started on medium tires before switching to softs, on which they set their personal best times. Carlos Sainz second quickest in 1:13.286, with Leclerc posting a 1:13.597. In the final third of the hour, both cars once again ran a heavy fuel load to run in race trim. 52 laps completed, 30 for Carlos, 22 for Charles. The Spanish driver spoke of a car that performed well in terms of pace on the single lap, while there is still significant room for improvement regarding the race pace with the fuel load. Charles Leclerc did not have the opportunity to do many laps with a full fuel load, and his qualifying simulation laps were affected by a suboptimal setup and also traffic. In the first free practice session, the Monegasque drivers SF-24 did not use the updates in order for the Maranello technicians to gather data with the previous specification and therefore run comparative tests. But Charles Leclerc's car also showed incorrect balance on a track that was still very green at that moment. Charles Leclerc himself had asked via radio to move closer to his teammates' setup with the modifications, which the engineers did, only to change it back during the second free practice session. The Monegasque driver wanted to revert to his original setup, with another significant adjustment that gave him more confidence at the end of the second practice session, and which will be the basis for Ferrari's work ahead of FP3. The updates have been approved and will remain on both cars, thus being used for the rest of the Spanish Grand Prix weekend. From Friday's initial feedback, Ferrari performed well in the medium-fast sections and also developed good efficiency, which is exactly what is expected from this package, namely more efficient downforce. It did not perform badly even in the few slow sections, where cars, especially McLaren, showed better results. Unlike usual, Maranello's engineers decided to work on the simulator on Friday tonight in order to perfect the setup and improve the long-run results, not being overly concerned about the single lap pace. Charles Leclerc confirmed at the end of FP2 that Ferrari know where to find the lap time and that it should not be an issue. A somewhat counter-trend result compared to the SF-24 seen so far, often comfortable in the long run while needing more intensive work to extract potential in the single lap. In terms of tires, the degradation is high, but in line with that of the other teams, although several teams have pointed out that the degradation is higher than expected. Among the rivals, there is an intense battle as once again, between qualifying simulations and race pace, we find more than one car within just a few tenths. Judging by Friday's results, the trio of Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren has been joined by Mercedes. The W15 single-seater was convincing on the single lap, a bit less so on race pace, showing significant downforce capabilities even if this penalized it on the various stretches of the Barcelona circuit. At least on Friday, there were no notable difficulties in balancing the car in the different types of corners, with good competitiveness in high-speed curves. In the reigning world champions camp, it was once again a day of mixed impressions. Sergio Perez started off on the right foot but then fell behind in the second free practice session with a rather poor race simulation. Max Verstappen did not finish in the top three but had a good race simulation with the medium tire, though without direct comparison with the rivals. The Dutchman appeared annoyed with the behavior of his RB20 and explicitly requested a return to the old spec wing, at least for the rest of the day. It is also worth noting that the two Red Bull drivers ran with different rear wing specifications, opting for different setups. Once again, McLaren impressed. On average, it's worth pointing out that the MCL38 has been the best car since the introduction of the Miami Aero package, and here at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, there was another confirmation of their impressive progress, at least on this first day of track action in Spain. On the single lap, both drivers were competitive, and indeed, both MCL-38 cars were in the leading positions. Even better, however, was seen in the excellent potential in the long run, with both drivers engaged in a race-pace simulation that showed a good rhythm and good management. Lando Norris spent a few laps behind Carlos Sainz before being released and being able to lower his times before returning to the pits. Oscar Piastri, on the other hand, had a few more problems with tire management, using a more aggressive approach with very fast initial laps, followed by more pronounced degradation. By the end of the day, however, Andrea Stella's team certainly attracted attention and confirmed as expected to be one of the main candidates for pole position and victory on Sunday especially. But beating Red Bull won't be easy, especially on a track like the Circuit de Catalunya, where the best starting position will greatly increase the chances of winning. Don't be too influenced by those lap times set by Max Verstappen in practice. They will likely level out with the others during the race. The C1, C2, and C3 Pirelli compounds are a guarantee. They showed no issues during the long runs, and if it's sunny on Sunday, it might be possible to complete the race with just one medium-hard stop. We'll analyze this hypothesis at the end of the qualifying session. The prancing horse of the Italian team still seemed a bit lackluster. It seemed more spirited compared to Canada, but still not as sharp as in the early races of the 2024 Formula One Championship. Carlos Sainz, despite having new engine components, reported power issues during the first free practice sessions, which fortunately were resolved later. Both drivers also suffered from balance issues that significantly impacted their performance. Charles Leclerc was additionally hindered by not testing the new updates brought by Ferrari, new floor, revised diffuser, and a new medium-high downforce rear wing, right away, which were allocated to Carlos Sainz in FP1, making the search for the optimal setup even more problematic. The balance was not satisfactory on either car. There is room for improvement, of course, and if a solution is found, they could return to the fight for the podium. If McLaren and Red Bull are the teams with the highest potential, it's worth noting that the others aren't too far behind. Looking at the data from Friday practice, we can see how similar the levels are on the soft compound among Ferrari, Mercedes, and Lando Norris. We only compared the times from the first stint, mediums for Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Fernando Alonso, the others on softs. The gaps are so small that finding something during the night could make a difference on Sunday. That's the point. Ferrari has room for improvement, but everyone is so close that even a small detail can drastically change the outcome. Last night, the Maranello team's technicians analyzed all the data in great detail, focusing on what needs to be done to optimize the car package for qualifying and the race. Today's final free practice will be crucial to find the ideal setup and technical solutions ahead of the qualifying session, which will play a decisive role on a track where overtaking is not at all easy.